Today I'm going to talk to you all a little bit about an epidemic that is not only sweeping over the U.S., but the entire world as a whole. Pediatrician Dr. Walt Whitmer tells the story of a young 3-year-old girl by the name of Sarah who came in for her first child well visit and was already overweight. Sarah's bottle was filled with soft drink, and Dr. Whitmer begged and pleaded with her parents to get her on a path of better health. They ignored his advice, and she continued to slip down a path of destruction. At age 8, Sarah was diagnosed with diabetes, and by age 10, her levels of blood pressure were alarmingly high. Sarah's body just couldn't take it, and at age 14, she slipped into a diabetic coma and died as a result of a massive heart attack. As an avid sports enthusiast and avid person of exercise, it pains me to see children who slip down this path and are overweight and inactive. Childhood obesity has spawned into a pandemic that has gone worldwide, and the statistics of it are alarming. The progression of childhood obesity can be attributed to a few major causes. By simply having a knowledge of what we should be eating and what our children should be eating, plus some minor changes in physical activity and our daily habits, we can turn the whole thing around. The statistics of overweight and obese children in the U.S. have exploded in the past 30 years. OverweightTeen.com tells us that approximately 22% of children 6 to 11 and 19% ages 12 to 19 were overweight in 2008, with an additional 15% being right on the edge. In 2000, 10% of preschool children ages 2 to 5 were overweight. That's an increase of 6% over just the past 6 years. And looking at the graph I've given you of the prevalence of overweight and obese children within the U.S., you can see that only one state has a prevalence below 20%. 32 states are 25% or above, and 6 states are over 30%. And you can see that Kentucky is right on that line at 29.8. Research provided by TakePart.com tells us that the artery walls of an obese or overweight child is comparable to that of a 45-year-old male. Obesity can lead to a huge list of problems, and one after another. As listed by eMedicine Health, complications can arise such as asthma, heart problems, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart failures, bone and joint problems, stroke, various types of cancer, and not to mention various high numbers of emotional and social problems they will have as a result. Childhood obesity does not stop there. Those who are overweight as children are much more likely to be overweight or obese as adults, almost 90% higher likely. OverweightTeen.com also tells us that approximately 300,000 deaths can be attributed to not being healthy, a lack of diet, and physical inactivity. 2/3 of adults are overweight with a body mass index over 25, and 1/3 of adults are obese with a body mass index over 30. A common misconception is that eating healthy is expensive, and it's just not true. It tells us that over $550,000 will be spent by an obese 18-year-old to maintain that same diet through adulthood. Healthy adults eat less. They are more aware of their proportions and more aware of what they're putting into their system, and snack much less. As a result, they save a lot more money over time. One major proponent of the issue is school lunches. While there are national regulations for the requirements of nutrition levels within our school lunches, TakePart.com tells us that 80% of schools serve lunches that are too high in fat and saturated fat. The interesting part of all that is that the fat content is the #1 thing that is regulated by these requirements. The problem is they do not put any regulations on sugars, carbohydrates, things like that. And sugars and carbs can be one of the major monsters in weight gain. Sugar creates energy for us to be active and to get through the day. And when those calories and those sugars are not being burned off, they are stored as glucose, which can become fat. Most schools rely heavily on high energy and low nutritional foods, and that's simply due to the fact of cost. Aside from our school lunches, though, a child's home life also makes a huge impact and influence on our diet and your child's health and well-being. Many of the snacks that we stock in our pantries are packed full of sugars and carbohydrates, like the Pop-Tarts, the potato chips, and the high sugary cereals. The lack of physical activity is the other major proponent. And the popularity of TV shows and video games has fueled the fire of childhood obesity. It tells us that StopChildhoodObesity.com tells us that 3+ hours per day of watching TV goes into the average child's day, and less than 30 minutes of physical activity. So the math just doesn't add up. TV also promotes snacking. While these kids are watching their video games and playing TV, they're usually snacking on something that is not good for them. 1/3 of the children in the U.S. have daily physical education class, which is a big problem, and less than half of the kids have parents who engage in physical activity. The solutions to the epidemic are really quite simple. The first step is to practice what you preach. The greatest influence is to lead by example. Get out there and show your kids what they need to be doing and how they could be on a life of health and well-being. 25% of obese adults tend to be obese as children. With statistics for death by obesity being so high, it's not just in your child's best interest, but it's in your interest as well. The American Medical Association says that poor diet and physical inactivity could overtake tobacco in the leading cause of preventable deaths within the U.S. Some very simple lifestyle changes can be made to cure the pandemic. You and your children's schools can develop easy plans to increase physical activity levels. But the single best thing you can do is restrict the amount of time in front of the television. Be a role model for your children and the rest of the family. Get out there, get them out having fun, doing exercise, and make it something that they enjoy. Lead by example. Encourage kids to get involved in sports and in their community and organizations. Get them out there having fun and burning off calories and being productive in society. Most importantly, do not force children into activity. As we all know, a lot of these children tend to rebel and resent things that we try to force them to do. So the best thing we can do is to encourage them and show them how much fun they can have by being out there and doing it. Physical activity does not have to be seen as a burden, but it can be fun. Diet management is the other crucial lifestyle step. A lot of the temptations that they see in the pantry is what leads them to the weight gain, the snacks, the high sugary snacks, and things like that. So remove those temptations. Also, you'll see in your brochures that there's a list of foods and things that we should replace our high sugary foods with, replacing white breads with wheat grains and things of that nature. Simple things that remove the temptations from the pantry will ultimately give them no option but to eat healthy. Educate yourself on you and your children's nutritional needs and encourage them to make smart decisions. Balance your intake and their intake, making dinners and things of that nature that are healthy and you know are going to put them on the right path. The goal is not to make a dramatic weight change, but make changes for life that will stay with them. The benefits of health and wellness far outweigh any troubles, and many children's health and wellness programs across the globe have been extremely successful. As listed by Lifestyle.com, there's quite a bit of organizations out there that have been extremely successful. Most obvious are the sports programs, the little leagues, the pee-wee footballs, things of that nature. Getting the kids out there, making friends, making them do things that are productive, and burning off calories rather than sitting in front of a TV. You might also consider joining a gym like the YMCA, where they set up kids for all kinds of programs that are fun for them and are healthy. The ramifications of childhood obesity are extremely dangerous, and it's an epidemic that is killing hundreds of thousands of people. Fortunately, unlike many of the diseases that are taking the lives of so many, this disease has a cure, and it's very simple. A few lifestyle changes will put you and your kids on the right track and help them to live a long, healthy life. Health and wellness is contagious, and your actions will undoubtedly go noticed. They're constantly looking up to you as a role model and seeing what you do. So Get out there, be a role model, and get them on the right track.